During the last sessions, we had discussed the different properties of the addition of integers: the closure property, the commutative property, and associative property. If you've forgotten, you can always go back to my previous videos and check out. This session, we shall deal with the additive identity of integers, additive inverse, and finally the property of 1. Let's try to understand the additive identity of integers. Let's take a positive integer, maybe it's a 7. A 7 added to 0, you get a 7. Let's take a negative integer, negative 4 added to 0, you get a negative 4. What about 0 added to 8? We get an 8. What about 0 added to a negative number, negative integer? You get a negative 9. So what do we conclude? We see that adding 0 to any integer, does not change the value or identity of the integer. That is, if a is added to 0, a can take up any value. If a is added to 0, it gives you 0 plus a, which is a. So either way is a plus 0 is a, 0 plus a is also a. Hence, 0 is called the additive identity of integers, right? So 0 is called the additive identity of integers for the fact that if 0 is added to any integer, positive or negative integer, we get the same value or the same identity of the integer. Now let's go to additive inverse. Additive inverse says that for every integer a, there exists another integer negative a. That is, for every integer a, there exists another integer negative a, and if we add that, we get a 0. The sum is 0. So basically, if you take the number 1, integer 1, add it to its opposite, we get a 0. Let me show you a number line also, if you're confused about it. What if I draw a number line here? So we have a 0 here, we have our 0 here, and we have 1 out here, 2. You have negative 1 here, negative 2. So 1 plus negative 1, yes, you get a 1, and then plus negative, you take one step backward. Where do you reach? You get a 0. So that is why we say that the additive inverse of a positive integer is a negative integer, and the additive inverse of a negative integer is a positive integer. And the sum of the opposites of the integers gives you a 0. So I hope you understood the difference between the additive identity of integers and the additive inverse. Now let's get on to the property of 1. Addition of 1 to any integer gives its successor. You know what you mean by successor. Successor is always the number after, the predecessor is the number before. Let's check this fact in the case of integers. Let's take a positive integer 3 added to 1. We get the next integer 4, right? What about negative 3 added to 1? We get a negative 2. We know that negative 2 is a successor of negative 3, right? So here, the property of 1 tells us that 1 added to a positive integer or the negative integer always gives us a successor. I hope you understood the 3 concepts. I hope you enjoyed and understood this session. I urge you to subscribe to my channel as there are many more videos coming up. Thank you.